Hi, I'm Nathan from Serious Geeks, and this is another episode of How Good Could They Be? Today's episode is going to focus on Hellblasters. When Primaris first hit the scene, Hellblasters were a well thought of unit. Having a powerful weapon, a decent stat line, and being combined with things like Guilliman, they were able to rock out a lot of damage to opponents. This is in the early days of 8th edition, and since then we've had a lot of new releases, new armies, new Codex books, and a lot of powerful options that have combined to make it so that Hellblasters are just not quite as effective as they once were, particularly in a competitive setting. Going into 9th edition, with a spate of new Codex books coming out and likely a load of FAQs to bring other books into line, we know there's going to be a lot of changes, including weapon systems and most notably, all Space Marines going to 2 wounds apiece. That's Firstborn Marines matching the Primaris Marines. When we list build ourselves and we theory craft an army list that we think is going to be quite effective on the table, one of the things we have to consider is how we're going to deal with 2 wounds apiece ourselves. Are we going to just try and torrent it to death with weight of fire, lots of small arms, or are we going to use more specialised weapons to kill those models quicker? There are plenty of weapons options that are going to be changed. Heavy bolters are going to go to 2 damage apiece, but they're still going to have an AP of -1 in most circumstances. That isn't going to be as efficient at killing Space Marines as perhaps a plasma gun might be. Bear in mind the plasma will wound better when overcharging on a 2+, and it will ignore armor saves a lot better with a -3 or in the case of Hellblasters, a -4. So this brings me on to the Hellblasters. Their weapon system is actually tailor-made to defeat Space Marines themselves, and since Space Marines are going to be the predominant force for most people's competitive lists, and most of us do have Space Marine lists in a casual setting as well, so I think Hellblasters might actually find their way back into our games. Quick caveat to add that heavy intercessors have been released, and I will do a review on those at a separate time, but their rules do seem to cross over a little bit with several other units of Primaris, particularly intercessors and Hellblasters, so there could be a little bit of a problem here. It does depend on points values, but we'll wait and see. Let's take a look at the datasheet. As you can see, the stat line is unchanged, which is kind of what we expected anyway. The weapon systems is where the biggest changes occur. As can be expected, a standard plasma incinerator remains unchanged itself. This is mostly because it was already a fairly effective weapon system and it was always chosen above the other weapon systems in the majority of lists. The big changes come from the heavy incinerator option and the assault plasma incinerator option. Starting with the latter, the assault plasma incinerator option has gone up to 3 shots apiece. This means no matter what range they are from their target, as long as they are up to their maximum range, a Hellblaster unit with assault plasma incinerators can put down quite a lot of fire. When overcharging, this means that you'll actually do 2 damage apiece on 3 shots, and although you'll only be wounding Space Marines on a measly 3+, this is actually still really good. Although technically a shorter range than the other weapons, 24 inches is still fairly effective for a plasma weapon, and you're getting more shots at 24 inches than other plasma weapons are likely to get back at you. So in a war of attrition, Hellblasters with assault incinerators are actually really effective. The other option is actually a really interesting option, especially when we're seeing heavy intercessors coming on the scene now. The heavy plasma incinerator has a stock 2 damage apiece, which when overcharged will go up to 3 damage. The range of 36 inches is also incredibly effective. It is actually the standard range of, say, a heavy bolter, and it outranges most enemy targets anyway. Custodes and models in Gravis armor will all be a lot more vulnerable to a weapon of this caliber than they would from a standard Hellblaster squad, and because you're hitting at long range, the retaliation fire might not be quite as severe. In fact, if you're able to hit someone at such range, the likeliness is that you'll have other units between them and you that will probably be more of a priority for the opponent anyway. Remember, obscuring terrain is a thing, so you may have to move this unit several times to reach your targets, but the opponent has to do so as well. So if you can line up firing at an objective, you can pretty much guarantee anything that gets put onto that objective is within your line of sight, and therefore your Hellblasters can pick on those poor defenseless aggressors, or more likely now, heavy intercessors, and each wounding hit is going to fell a model, so it's quite effective. It's good use of your points to eliminate the opponent's ability to score. What's more, this additional damage pip enables the squad to do a fairly good number on vehicles. Say 3 wounding hits go through, all overcharged, that's 9 damage. That's actually very good. Overall, out of the weapon systems Hellblasters have access to, I think the heavy variant is probably the best. I say this because the most efficient use of Hellblasters is targeting elite units. When targeting elite units, you want to do as much damage as possible. This means you want to kill them with each shot, or at least have a good chance of doing so. Things like Inceptors, Aggressors, Heavy Intercessors, Terminators and Adeptus Custodes are very tough infantry to kill, and they're also very dangerous, so you want to put them down fairly quickly. You don't want to have to trade blows with them and have to double up your plasma hits and get 2 plasma hits overcharged just to kill one model. As such, the most efficient use of killing them is 1 shot, 1 kill, which these weapons, the Heavy Plasma Incinerator, do best. They also do so at quite decent range, and when you fire them at vehicles and overcharge, you can do quite a lot of damage. 3 damage is one of the magic numbers of 40k. It's reliable, and you know that you can stack it up on multiple targets and do quite a lot of damage to a single target where needed. Lastly, the stock strength of it is higher than the other plasma weapons. Having a basic strength of 8 means that it's going to wound most targets on a 2+. It's going to hit vehicles and wound them on a 3+, and even when you overcharge, you're going to hit knights and wound them on a 3+ as well, which is incredibly useful, because a toughness 8 vehicle is otherwise quite hard to crack when you're only wounding on a 4+. This is why I think it's going to be the one to watch in the next edition. How good could it be? I think it's going to be very effective. I really do think it is going to be good. And I think it will surprise many people who rely on an elite army to be able to deal with the opponent. Hellblasters are going to be the direct hard counter, particularly with heavy plasma incinerators, to heavy intercessors, and that is critical, especially in a competitive sense. Of course, we have to wait until the new codex comes out to know for definite. We don't know the points values or stratagem rules or what other special little abilities that could help this unit or another unit. But in the meantime, this is how good could they be. On that note, I'm just going to say goodbye. Please comment below, let me know what you think. Please like and subscribe to help me grow the channel, and I look forward to catching up with you all soon. Peace out.